Imagine an entire empire built on gods. Hundreds of them. Every temple, every ritual, every priest, every law, powered by a belief system thousands of years old. Then one day, the king wakes up and says, "All your gods are lies. There is only one God now, my God." In a single moment, 1,500 years of Egyptian tradition was shattered. Priests panicked, soldiers whispered, nobles plotted. Ordinary people felt the ground shift under their feet. And standing in the eye of the storm was one man, Pharaoh Akhenaten, the king who tried to rewrite religion and nearly destroyed Egypt in the process. Before we go deeper into the madness that turned Egypt against its own pharaoh, subscribe, because what you're about to hear is one of the most dangerous religious experiments in history, one that Egypt buried for centuries because of how close it came to ending the entire civilization. The pharaoh who broke the rules. Akhenaten wasn't born insane. He inherited a wealthy, stable empire from his father, Amenhotep III, an Egypt filled with gold, trade, military strength, and temples overflowing with offerings to the gods. But Akhenaten didn't see a divine system. He saw competition. The priesthood of Amun, Egypt's most powerful religious institution, had grown into a shadow government. They controlled wealth, land, and influence, sometimes more than the pharaoh himself. Akhenaten's mind twisted the truth. To him, this wasn't balance, it was a threat. So instead of negotiating with the priests, he planned to erase them, not weaken them, not intimidate them, erase them. The birth of a forbidden god. One morning, Akhenaten walked into the temple of Amun and made an announcement that stunned Egypt. Amun is no longer the supreme god. Only Aten, the sun disk, is real. No myths, no animal forms, no gods of war, death, love, or the Nile. Just one being, Aten, a faceless sun whose rays ended in human hands. Akhenaten claimed that Aten spoke only through him. Not the priests, not the temples, not tradition. He wasn't just creating a new god, he was creating a monopoly, and he immediately weaponized it. The annihilation of Egypt's gods. Akhenaten's reforms weren't gentle. They were violent, absolute, and terrifying. Temples of Amun closed overnight. Priests stripped of their power, statues smashed, names of old gods carved out from monuments. Funding redirected away from ancient shrines. This was more than religious change. It was cultural destruction. Imagine burning every book, every church, every mosque, every temple, and declaring everything humanity ever believed in obsolete. That's what Akhenaten did. He turned Egypt's spiritual world upside down. And the people? They obeyed, but out of fear, not faith. The capital of madness, Akhenaten. Then Akhenaten made his most shocking move. He abandoned Egypt's legendary capital, Thebes, and built a brand new city in the desert. Akhenaten, the horizon of Aten. It was massive, beautiful, blindingly white, filled with temples open to the sun so Aten could see the worshippers directly. But here's the dark truth. The new capital was not made for Egypt. It was made for Akhenaten's ego, a city where no old gods existed, where Amun's priests had zero influence, and where the pharaoh stood at the center as the sole messenger of the divine. Egypt wasn't just changing, it was unraveling. While workers exhausted themselves building the desert city, foreign powers watched Egypt weaken. Trade slowed, military focus collapsed. Diplomats begged for help as enemies attacked border towns, but the pharaoh ignored them. Why? Because Akhenaten didn't care about the empire anymore. He cared only about Aten, only about reshaping Egypt in his own image, and the cracks in his rule were already spreading. The empire starts to starve. Akhenaten thought he was reshaping Egypt into a spiritual paradise. In reality, he was dismantling the machinery that fed the empire. The priests he hated so much weren't just religious figures. They were the administrators who managed grain, irrigation, trade routes, temple farms, and regional supplies. Remove them, and you remove the backbone of the country. That's exactly what happened. Fields went unmanaged. Granaries emptied, harvests rotted. Foreign trade slowed to a crawl. While common Egyptians struggled to find bread, Akhenaten stood in sunlit courtyards, arms lifted toward a 10, lost in visions that only he could see. And here's the piece most people overlook. Egypt didn't collapse from war or invasion first. It collapsed because the king got spiritually obsessed and economically blind. He chose ideology over stability, a fatal mistake. Foreign allies beg for help, and Akhenaten ignores them. While Egypt was starving, its borders were burning. The city-states in Canaan and Syria, longtime Egyptian allies, were being attacked by rivals. Their leaders wrote desperate letters on clay tablets, letters we still have today. They begged for Egyptian troops. They begged for reinforcements. They begged for the pharaoh to act like a king. Akhenaten never responded. He was too busy composing hymns to Aten, too busy reshaping religious doctrine, too busy controlling which direction his temples faced to ensure the perfect angle of sunlight. This wasn't spiritual dedication. This was strategic negligence. Egypt's influence, once feared across continents, evaporated. Enemies pushed deeper. Rebellions spread. Vassal states abandoned loyalty because loyalty wasn't being rewarded. You can rule a nation or you can chase a fantasy. Akhenaten chose the fantasy. The royal family drama makes things worse. Now comes the part most storytellers avoid because it's messy. Akhenaten didn't rule alone. He ruled with Nefertiti, the most powerful queen of her era. For years, she was his partner, his supporter, the face of the Aten cult. Then suddenly, she vanished, gone from records, gone from temples, gone from inscriptions. Either she died, rebelled, or was removed. And none of those possibilities make Akhenaten look competent. Losing Nefertiti cracked the throne from within. Losing the loyalty of the court cracked it further. Then came another issue. Akhenaten elevated one of his daughters into roles normally reserved for queens, a move Egypt's elite found disturbing and politically reckless. He was isolating himself, surrounding himself with those who wouldn't challenge him, cutting off anyone who forced him to face uncomfortable truths. Sound familiar? It's the classic downfall of every leader who becomes trapped in their own ideology. Akhenaten, the city of the sun and the empire's grave. The city Akhenaten, built to glorify Aten, looked beautiful. White limestone, open courtyards, sunlight pouring in from every angle. But beauty doesn't matter when the economy is collapsing. Akhenaten became a symbol of everything wrong with his rule. It drained Egypt's treasury. It isolated the royal court from the rest of the nation. It moved the government away from the heart of administration. It forced thousands of workers into backbreaking labor. It served a god only one man truly believed in. A capital city is supposed to strengthen an empire. Akhenaten's capital weakened it until it cracked. Meanwhile, rebellions grew. The army lost morale. Merchants abandoned routes. Priests plotted in the shadows. Nobles whispered that the king had lost touch with reality. And honestly, they weren't wrong. The death that changed everything, after years of pushing Egypt toward collapse, something finally happened that shifted the entire story. Akhenaten died. No grand farewell, no triumphant ending, just a sudden disappearance from the throne. And Egypt wasted zero time responding. The moment he died, the court buried his legacy as fast as they could. His new religion was hated. His policies were resented. His memory was toxic. But his downfall wasn't complete. The destruction of everything he built. That comes next. The Erase Akhenaten operation begins. The moment Akhenaten's heart stopped beating, Egypt exhaled like a prisoner freed from a choking grip. No mourning, no honor, no royal glory. Just relief. The priests who had been stripped of their power, humiliated, and forced into silence. They didn't waste a second. They came back like a vengeance-driven tide. And here's the blunt truth. Akhenaten never understood the scale of the enemy he created. You don't cripple the most organized elite class in your empire and expect them to accept it. The priesthood of Amun moved fast, quietly, ruthlessly. They shut down 10 temples. They confiscated royal funds. They erased inscriptions. They reassigned workers and taxed the cult into oblivion. Everything Akhenaten built was dismantled piece by piece with surgical precision, not out of passion, but out of cold, institutional revenge. This wasn't faith. This was a power structure correcting a mistake. The boy king is installed and controlled. Egypt needed a symbolic reset. They needed a ruler who could undo the chaos without revolt. So they chose a child, Tutankhaten, Akhenaten's young son. But don't fool yourself. The boy wasn't the ruler. He was a tool. The priests and generals pulled the strings. Tut didn't even get to keep his birth name. They forced him to change it. Tutankhamun, living image of Amun. That single name change was a death sentence to Aten's legacy. A public declaration that Akhenaten's revolution was over, finished, rejected. This is what happens when you push an entire system too far. The system pushes back, harder than you can imagine. Akhenaten, the city of heresy, is abandoned. Imagine building an entire city out of white stone, carving colossal temples, shifting the capital of the greatest empire on earth, only for your successor to walk away without looking back. That's exactly what happened. Akhenaten, the city Akhenaten poured his soul into, was deserted, not burned, not destroyed, ignored. The worst humiliation isn't destruction, it's irrelevance. Imagine thousands of homes left to rot, walls crumbling under sand, statues collapsing under sunlight, entire temples becoming nests for desert animals. Egypt treated Akhenaten like a contaminated zone. It was the physical manifestation of a mistake they refused to acknowledge. The system scrubs his name from existence. You want to know how deeply Egypt hated his reforms? They didn't just destroy statues. They didn't just chisel out his face. They deleted his name from king lists. They removed him from official records. They acted as if he never existed. Think about that. A pharaoh, considered a god on earth, erased like a criminal. This wasn't symbolic. This was ideological cleansing. History is a game of winners rewriting the script. Akhenaten lost, so his chapter was torn out. And here's the brutal truth no one wants to say: he earned his erasure. Not because his ideas were evil, they weren't, but because he executed them recklessly, blindly, and without understanding the machine he was tearing apart. Vision isn't enough. You need structure. He destroyed structure. Egypt destroyed him. His legacy returns from the grave. Here's the irony. Akhenaten tried to force Egypt into monotheism. It failed. But millennia later, people look back at him with fascination. Some call him a visionary ahead of his time. Some call him a zealot who wrecked a civilization. Some claim he paved the way for later monotheistic ideas. But inside Egypt, they treated him like a wound. His temples buried, his statues smashed, his bones placed in a tomb no one honored. The man who challenged gods couldn't even protect his own memory. If you want more stories this dark, this dangerous, and this brutally dramatic, then don't just scroll away. You follow, you like, and you stay locked in, because the ancient world is full of kings who thought they were untouchable and paid the ultimate price for their delusion.